I thought it was very important to have a press conference to introduce our new staff and to look at what the Ombudsman is going to do and is doing in the year 2015. As you have read already in the press, because we have been sending out press releases, our Secretary General, Mrs. Patricia Phillips, while she had to resign last year because she reached pensionable age, we had asked her to stay on, and she did so, but this year she gracefully went on a well-deserved vacation after being a civil servant for about 40 years. Also, our legal advisor Marlon Hart, who was on contract, has departed and from the office, and as such we have two persons. Let me start at my left with Miss Gwendolyn Muscle. She is a lawyer. She comes right now from the Ministry of Justice. However, she has been on the island before 10-10-10 and working with the cabinet of the Lieutenant Governor, but we share her CV with you, and at the end of it, I think you can have a conversation with Ms. Muscle to hear a little more about her background. We are very happy with Ms. Muscle, with her experience, and as you know, the work we do, the more lawyers we have on the team, the better. At our left, at my right hand, we have our new Secretary General in the person of Mr. Randall Duggans. While Ms. Muscle is no stranger to the administration, Mr. Duggans is no stranger to the administration neither. He is also a lawyer. He has worked for a few years before 10-10-10 with the government of St. Martin. In his last function, he was Director of Facilities. And then he went to the private sector in Anguilla for about 5 years, working with the family business. So Mr. Duggans brings with him not only experience in government, but also experience in the private sector, which I welcome very much. Mr. Duggans, apart from being a lawyer, he has a degree in economics and finances. Yeah? So a very capable and equipped person. We welcome both of them to the Bureau. Ms. Muscle started the 1st of May. Mr. Duncan started as of the 1st of June. However, he has been working with Ms. Phillips for a period of 6 weeks, huh?
About, yes.
Yeah, to have a smooth transition. Okay, then let's see what we have. Of course, you want to know a little more about the Karoa conference. That is the latest on the agenda of the Ombudsman. The Karoa conference, which included anti-corruption training, something very important for St. Martin. The theme of the conference was human rights, good governance, and the Ombudsman. As you may recall, 2 years ago, we had the privilege to have the Karoa conference here on St. Martin. As Ombudsman of St. Martin, I was requested to have a presentation to the conference as well. I made a presentation about human rights, an intrinsic element of good administration. That topic, that speech that I presented will also be included in your press kit, because at the end of the session we will provide you with a press kit and there you then have some information on the topic that I presented. What was interesting at the conference is the topic on corporate governance. As you may have realized that anytime that I'm in a meeting with experts talking about corporate governance, I table the issue of accountability. Because at one hand, we have privatized tasks and services of government put into private entities, but the issue of accountability, to me as ombudsman, is still in a gray area. So that issue I had again tabled in Curacao on the conference. We can talk about it a little more if you have any questions after. At the conference, as is always the case, every 2 years a new president, a new board, a new council have to be elected for the CAROA. CAROA stands for Caribbean Ombudsman Association. And this year the honor is mine that I was elected to be the president of CAROA for the coming 2 years. What does that mean for St. Martin? I believe that the fact that St. Martin is a new country, quote unquote, within our region, it is very important for the exposure of the island in the region and to establish itself in the region. We often only look at the Netherlands for governance and our operations. However, as the late Boulifaleo said once in his writing, we are standing with our feet in the Caribbean, but our vision is geared towards the Netherlands. And I think with accepting the presidency of CAROA, as a country we have an opportunity to establish on ourselves, really not only stand with our feet in the Caribbean, but contribute to good governance within the Caribbean. On the council of the CAROA, we have the Ombudsman of Turks and Caicos Island, who is the vice president. We have the Secretary General of the Ombudsman Office of Curacao to be our secretary and treasurer. On the council, we have a representative of Bermuda, a representative of Jamaica, and a representative of Tortola, BVI. I was looking towards my legal advisor because she also attended the conference. As a newcomer to the Ombudsman, it was of course a great experience for her, and of course you'd be able to ask her questions on it afterwards. One thing I'm always saying, because some people might say, hey, but the Ombudsman have been traveling a lot over the past years. Yes, I have been traveling to international conferences, regional conferences. Why? Because I said we're not going to reinvent the wheel. Why start doing everything all over, learn by trial and error, where there are other institutions, other countries that have the experience? And I believe that the fact that in 2012, the Caribbean and the Latin American region appointed me to be on the board of the international organization, and now I'm elected as president of the CAROA, it shows that we have made a difference. We have asked the questions we have brought, we didn't only take, but also contributed. And I must say, I'm very happy that our participation in the international organization landed the Caribbean with the anti-corruption training. Because integrity is a household word here on St. Martin for the past few years. Corruption is an issue that is constantly talked about. I have been instrumental, together with the Ombudsman of Trinidad and Tobago, to convince the International Organization of Ombudsman to sponsor a training for Caribbean ombudsman in the Caribbean. A reason why I did not have the training on St. Martin, because of course you'll say, why didn't you do it here? I just introduced the new persons. You can imagine if we had organized that training on St. Martin, it would have been very taxing on our own local institution, because we had to do a lot. And knowing that, I have then opted for the anti-corruption training to be organized elsewhere, and in this case it was in Curacao as a combination of the Caroa conference. The advantage of having such a training by IACA, the International Academy of Anti-Corruption, a very prestigious and well-known institution internationally, was not only for me as ombudsman, but I even asked permission to invite other parties. And I got permission for this, and I invited Parliament, the Ministry of Justice, and the High Councils of State to send a representative. I must say, while I got the permission to have 3 persons attending, St. Martin sent 6 additional persons. Yeah. However, again, I must say, my standing, the impact that we have made internationally, it has been allowed. I was very happy that Parliament sent 2 parliamentarians and a policy worker. The Ministry of Justice sent their liaison officer and a board member, and a person of the Secretariat of the Advisory Council attended. I must say that the reason why I thought it was so very important that other entities of St. Martin participate is, as Ombudsman, I am investigating propriety. Corruption and integrity borders to propriety. I can talk as much as I want. As you know, I'm giving a lot of information sessions, but the entire community has to understand what integrity and corruption is. Reason, moreover, that I applaud Parliament to participate. It was an eye-opener for the representatives, a Member of Parliament, Maurice Lake, and Member of Parliament, Christopher Emmanuel, attended together with their policy worker. And I must say they participated actively because it was an eye-opener. Culture is one thing, but integrity and corruption is something international. So the United Nations Convention of Anti-Corruption was discussed at the training, and I must say we were very fortunate to have one of the investigators of the whole FIFA situation as one of the representative, one of the lecturers. So you can imagine how in-depth and thorough this training was. I hold the parliamentarians that were there to their word because they saw the need to do such a training for Parliament itself and hopefully for other stakeholders in the community. Let me see what is important about that as well. Follow-up we have. Then the next point that I want to bring forward is our PR campaign 2015 and the need for intensified collaboration with the media. The Ombudsman listens, investigates, and recommends government to act on the complaints and the concerns of the people. The goal and the objective of the institution of the Ombudsman is to promote good governance, to protect the rights of the citizens. We look at how government treats its citizens. As such, it is very important not only that government understand propriety, but the citizen, one, have to know what they can expect from government. Secondly, they should know that there's an ombudsman where they can bring their complaints to and have their complaints heard and acted upon. Without the citizen, the institution can close its doors and business will be as usual. There is where the media, as the link between the ombudsman and the people, is very important. We have an in-house PR officer, one of our complaint officers, Ms. Carmencita Lamar. She worked out a PR plan for us. And while you know that last year our PR campaign, a formal PR campaign was kicked off with flyers, posters, brochures, and television ads and radio ads, ads in the paper. This year we're continuing where we have agreed with the Herald that the first weekend of the month, the Ombudsman will have an Ombudsman Corner in the Weekender, where we, in a very simplified manner, will give information about the Bureau, about the Ombudsman, about the institution, what we are doing here. We have also agreed with the Today that also once a month, and that is the third Monday of the month, we will have a column named What's Happening at the Ombudsman. In that column, we will every time outline one of our investigations so that the people get familiar of what type of complaints can be brought forward, what kind of recommendation we gave to government to remedy the situation, and what actions government has been taken. Because it is very important. I always say, and when I discuss with government, and slowly but surely the whole administration start understanding, we are as independent parties standing outside looking in, and we don't investigate just to investigate, but to recommend how to remedy a situation. Getting the same complaints over and over and over again doesn't make sense. That situation, if there's a bottleneck, it has to be remedied. In our PR campaign, we really stress on the awareness and the accessibility of the Ombudsman to the public. And the public should know that they also have a role to play in good governance. Because if you stay with your complaint and grumble around the dinner table with your friends and call-in programs, it doesn't have the effect as having the complaint investigated and have government take action on certain recommendations. One of the projects that we are working with on this year in our efforts to inform the public and educate the civil servants is information village. We have on our planning to, in the second half of the year, together with the other high councils of state, the advisory council and the general audit chamber, have information village. If you recall, in January we did an open house where we asked government to provide brochures and pamphlets as information for the public. This time we want to invite all the ministries, the departments to have a booth and first-hand give information to the public, because the public has the right to know, if I have to apply for a permit, what do I have to do exactly? I don't need to go and come back, ask this person, get the wrong information, I don't know. So we are working on elaborate information village in the second half of the year. We will also have speakers. One of the speakers I have agreed with is the president of the Constitutional Court, that he on a yearly basis would collaborate with the Ombudsman to have an informative session to the public pertaining to the Constitutional Court as well as good governance. Another highlight of our campaign is the school drive. You have also realized that last year we have embarked on writing to all the schools on the island, elementary, secondary schools, as well as the USM, offering our services to have a presentation at the schools. Our complaint officer, Ms. Carmencita Lamar, is doing a tremendous job going to the elementary schools. Up to yesterday, I think it was, that she went to the MAC, yeah? Next week, I will be going to the Sundal School. We have agreement, the complaint officer as PR officer, she is taking care of all the elementary schools, and I'm going to the secondary schools, because we have two reasons for doing that. Building your nation doesn't start with adults, yeah? Yes, we are working on a shift of mindset, but we think it is important that from elementary school, students understand our constitutional structure, understand what the Ombudsman institution stands for, but at the same time, we encourage students and make them aware that eventually they will have to take the positions that we will be vacating in time. If students are not made aware that as citizens they have a responsibility to the country and that they will have to study to take up certain positions, when they get an adult, they will not be encouraged to do so. We are very fortunate to have two persons with links to the Windward Islands. I say Windward Islands because Mr. Duggans has his roots in Statia, and Ms. Muscle, yes, she has some roots here in St. Martin. So the school drive is going pretty okay. I must say we are a little disappointed that not all schools reacted, because we had a planning to do all schools the first half of the year. However, it did not materialize. But the schools, the school boards, the school management, they are encouraged that when the school opens to contact us so that we can really touch base on all the schools. And I must say, when you go to the schools, the questions that the children ask, they are really hungry for information and they need to be encouraged. With that, I open the floor for questions and answers, and I think Mr. Duggans will, direct this part.
Good morning to everyone.
Yeah.
Based on the information received in Curacao during the training/corruption sessions, how do you bring across the message home in that we, the general public, are better educated to ensure that we understand integrity? Because you had mentioned earlier on that there is a lack of understanding.
Okay, that is the same question I asked one of the facilitators, because I too think we can talk about integrity, we can talk about corruption, and we can make all the laws that we want. Personally, I think we have sufficient laws to deal with that. But enforcing it is one thing, and understanding it. So how do we deal with it? I mentioned, for example, our school drive. Informed people are prepared people. So from our part as Ombudsman, in our presentations, not only to the schools but to the public, we will address this issue. As I said, I emphasize and I'm making the call once more to the parliamentarians that were there, because that was the intention for inviting them, that they will give follow-up, that they too, as the highest institution on the island, will show seriousness and learn, because integrity is not something that is normally spoken about. One say yes, they are corrupt, but what does it really mean? It took 10 years investigation of the FIFA situation for the final outcome. So fraud, corruption, integrity, propriety, they are all cousins of each other. And it starts with propriety. Applying propriety in a very integer manner. And it's information, discussions, because I don't think that integrity is something that one can only lecture about. One must have that interaction. What does integrity mean to you? What does it mean to you? What means to you? And then, by talking about it, by interacting, it will sink in what is expected of me as a person.